I met a young girl who cared more about the drugs she wasn't doing than the child she'd be delivering in 4 months. I met a mother who had pictures of her children all over the walls, but couldn't cope with the idea that she had missed out on their childhood, so she would smoke until the walls began to talk to her. I met her father, who longed for his high school sweetheart, knowing that together their love was so toxic that neither one of them could survive. I met the young girl's boyfriend, who was walked on by others as he tried to resemble a man with stability while holding on to the thought that he had completely watched his life disintegrate before his eyes. This encounter changed my life. Racism is something that people of color have faced their entire lives, knowing that the disease of ignorance has infected the minds of most Americans, enabling them to see past the stereotypes that they have been taught. While meeting this young man, he was shocked that my skin was not white and my hair was not blonde, like the girls he had seen in the movies. Upon learning my ethnicity, he was confused as to where my thick accent went. Lastly, he scrutinized my clothes because for him, my ghetto shoes and my ghetto pants and my ghetto hair was permission for him to misidentify me as an African American and therefore by proxy open to all racist jokes he had to offer. This was my experience visiting the hometown of my best friend from college. I wish I could say that this was a one-time thing, or that it even fazed me at the fact that it had happened. Unfortunately, as a person of color, I've been taught from a very young age that my skin tone and my culture would define me before I even had the chance to say hi. That my mere physical image would be used as an instruction book to then classify my whole being as a person based off the generalizations others have made from the fear of not knowing something that was different from themselves. This is unacceptable and it must change. Humor me for a minute and imagine yourself as a tree. All trees have leaves, branches, trunks, and roots. The variations of those 4 components is what individualizes them and makes them different from the generic image of the tree. Wanting the tree to grow, it is important to understand the history of the tree. Where does the tree come from? Do the origins of the tree have anything to do with how it grows? What will make the tree thrive and flourish? As famous Harlem Renaissance activist Marcus Garvey once said, "A people without knowledge of their past history and culture is like a tree without roots." As we are taught to stand strong in who we are and what we believe in, it is important to understand where we come from. Many societal factors are contributed when defining someone's roots. However, the components I find most important are ethnicity and culture. Ethnicity can be defined as the fact or state of belonging to a common national or cultural group, whereas culture is defined as the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or social group. The United States itself is composed of 19 different ethnicities that then hold subcategories which hold their own cultures. For example, I am Indian. That is my ethnicity, but I was raised in a mixture of the American and South Indian culture. This country is made up of multiple ethnicities that combine different aspects of their culture. How is it then that we can live amongst these various types of people, call them friends and neighbors, but not know where they come from? How is it that we do not have an educational requirement for learning these different cultures? When I was a freshman in high school, we were required to take a course in global history. As we went through this course, we went through each region and discussed the past, history, and events that define those countries. I was lucky enough to have Ms. Cahill for a teacher, and as she went through each region, she made sure that we didn't look at these countries through our American eyes, but through our human eyes. Human eyes that didn't see 16-year-olds being married to older men as gross, but cultural. That didn't see eating goat and lamb as disgusting, but unique to the region. And just like that, I changed from being some kid trying to pass a history class to an individual curious to see the rest of the world. That spark is what incited me to become a foreign exchange student. I was lucky enough to have spent 6 months in Santiago, Chile. During those 6 months, and I not only learned how to speak Spanish fluently, but I gained an understanding for the Latin American culture, the way they idealize family, and the idea that food brings everybody together is beautiful. I got to see firsthand how these people work together as a society to look past the various types of people that they live with. They didn't see me as just an American in their life. They saw me as a young girl, curious to see what they took so much pride in. Through that experience, I was able to gain a scholarship to study in Rabat, Morocco the following summer. Before leaving, many of the community members expressed their opinion. "Oh, be careful for ISIS," or "As a woman, is it really safe for you to go there?" Most Americans have this opinion due to the poor political relationship that we hold with the Middle East. They then generalize a false image or a false understanding that is then being used and taught to inaccurately judge the religions and cultures that reside within it. I was lucky enough to have spent Ramadan alongside the people of Morocco. Ramadan is a religious month-long fast in which people do not drink water or eat food from sunrise to sunset. They also do not wear makeup, indulge in sexual relations, or any desires, lusts, or wants. This was the most humbling experience of my whole life. I became so weak and so frail, and it took me forever to climb up those 5 flights of stairs to my apartment, but I had never been so happy. I had gained such an appreciation for the basic necessities of water and food. No one will understand the blessing it is to have water go down your throat after walking to school in the heat and going about your responsibilities with nothing in your system. The fast forces you to slow down and smell the roses the earth has given you. It forces you to appreciate the things that you have taken for granted every single day. As I studied in both countries, I gained 2 different sets of eyes. These eyes now learned the history of how these people came to be. These eyes now experience the social issues present in each city. These eyes now held a bigger sense of empathy. Empathy where there could easily be ignorance. I believe one of the biggest problems in today's society is the lack of empathy that we have towards different cultures and religions and ethnicities. People may find this in the form of racism, stereotyping, and prejudice. It's easy to see things that we don't understand and try to make sense of it. But it is progressive to see things we don't understand and seek knowledge about it. All of this derived from that one history class freshman year. I am sad to say that I am one of the last kids in the Gilroy Unified School District that went through this course, as it ceased to be a requirement the following year and was later proposed as an option for an elective. As the Ghanaian diplomat Kofi Annan once said, "Knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is the premise of progress in every society and every family." The primary goal of the education system is to send students out into the world to contribute to society, answer questions, and to make the change they would like to see in the world. A lot of people in this country are appalled by the discrimination and corruptions among civilians. As a whole, Americans do not feel safe and fear the intentions of others. This ignorance that holds precedence in our society, that fuels this sense of unsafety felt by all of us, can only be combated with the power of knowledge. I propose a reinstallation of global history in the public school system. In fact, I believe that there should be a global history requirement amongst every grade. This curriculum would start from preschool all the way till 12th grade to ensure that students graduated with the maximum knowledge possible. This way, students are continuously exposed to a variety of cultures and all given access to gaining a global perspective. As a community, we should come together and hold cultural events throughout the years. Members of the community should help support and run these events to not only share their cultures amongst the youth, but amongst other members of the community who may not have been exposed to other cultures besides their own. The school system and the community should come together to support students' interest to study abroad. When seeking to study abroad, I was told I wouldn't graduate on time due to the differences in curriculum, but I was not offered a plan in which my studying abroad was a part of. Students, teachers, and counselors should come together to create a curriculum that is flexible enough to incorporate studying abroad. But funds should be raised in order to help students' interest to study abroad as well, as it is vital to creating global citizens. No one should be denied the perspective that is studying new cultures, because access and exposure is the formula to generate the power that knowledge gives in order to fight the ignorance in today's society. An example of this is giving the children access to participating in events such as March for Our Lives, instead of walking the gates to the school, and giving them the exposure to know that the knowledge that they have will help change the world. Because together, we must develop people with the skills and tools necessary to make the change they would like to see in the world. But first, you must know your neighbor.